Hello students. Today we are going to study Robert W. Peterson's The Making of a Scientist. Before moving on to our story, let us learn a few things about our author.
Robert W. Peterson was born in 1925 in Warren, Pennsylvania. He was an American newspaper writer who wrote widely on the topics of sports and scouting. He was himself a baseball player during his student days. Perhaps this inspired him to write his 1970 book entitled Only the Ball Was White, which is an account of the Negro League of baseball players.
In today's story, however, Peterson moves away from his usual subjects of writing. He dwells on the biography of biologist Richard High Ebright. At the beginning of the account, we learn that Richard High Ebright's accomplishments in the field of science and other fields started with an article published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. The subject of the article was butterflies, and Richard and his college roommate had explained how cells work in it. Such an important scientific journal had never published articles by college students before. So, it was a matter of great pride and excitement for the two friends.
It might be interesting to note how Robert W. Peterson draws a parallel with sports to highlight Ebright's achievement. We recall at once that he is a sports journalist.
The author now gives us a short account of the scientist's childhood and growing up years.
Ebright grew up north of Reading, Pennsylvania. He was a born collector who gathered rocks, fossils, and coins. Among the collectibles, what stood out was his collection of butterflies.
It was Ebright's mother who inspired and supported his interest in learning. She kept his curiosity alive by supplying him a number of equipments like telescopes, microscopes, cameras, and mounting materials. Once Ebright had collected all 20 species of butterflies in his hometown, his mother got him a children's book called The Travels of Monarch X. Much to his astonishment, Richard learned from the book that monarch butterflies migrate to Central America. At the end of the book, readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations. They were asked to tag butterflies for research by Dr. Frederick A. Urquhart from the University of Toronto in Canada. Ebright's mother wrote to Dr. Urquhart. After that, Richard raised a flock of butterflies and tagged them before letting them go. For several years, his basement nurtured thousands of monarch butterflies in different stages of development. However, Richard finally lost interest in the project as only 2 of his tagged butterflies were recaptured. Also, they were only 75 miles away from where Richard lived. This failed study was, nevertheless, an important lesson for the future scientist. You must already know that naturalists and scientists learn through trials and errors in their experiments. That is how they find the perfect method of study, by the process of elimination.
In the 7th grade, Ebright entered a county science fair and lost it. He realized the winners had tried to do real experiments. His entry had been a display of frog tissues since he was still ignorant about how real scientific experiments worked. But Richard was quick to learn from his blunders. For his 8th grade project, Ebright tried to find the cause of a viral disease that killed a huge population of monarch caterpillars every few years.
The following year, Ebright tried yet another experiment with butterflies. He tested the theory that viceroy butterflies disguise as monarchs to protect themselves against predatory birds. He came 3rd overall in the county science fair.
In Ebright's 2nd year of high school, he discovered the hormone produced by the gold spots on a monarch butterfly's pupa. He further proved that this hormone was responsible for the development of the monarch butterfly. This project was significant for several reasons. It indirectly led to his new theory on the life of cells. It won him the 1st position in the county fair and the 3rd place in the International Science and Engineering Fair. He got the opportunity to work at the entomology laboratory of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research.
In his junior year at Harvard University, Ebright got his idea of the new theory about cell life while examining the X-ray photos of a hormone's chemical structure. The photos helped him answer how the cell can read the blueprint of its own DNA.
Richard Ebright next went on to become a graduate student at Harvard Medical School. He continued his experiments to prove his cell theory. The author observes that if Ebright can prove his theory, it might help explain the processes of life. It can also help prevent diseases like cancer. Note how the cell theory originates from Ebright's high school experiments on monarch butterflies. This makes us realize that our childhood habits are crucial in shaping our destinies. So, pay attention to the seeds of ideas in your mind and nurture them.
Peterson finally returns to the scientist's school days. Apart from the scientific curiosity that defined him, Richard Ebright had a host of other interests. He was a great debater, public speaker, canoeist, and photographer. His social science teacher, Mr. Wehrer, recognized the perfectionism in Ebright early. Extracurricular activities, hence, are important for the nourishment and stimulation of the mind. An all-round development is more likely to help us excel in our chosen fields.
The author ends the biographical account by identifying 3 traits crucial for the making of a scientist. They are curiosity, a brilliant mind, and the will to be the best. Richard Ebright undoubtedly had all the traits.
From today's lesson, we learned how will, determination, and perseverance helped Richard Ebright become a pioneer in his field. There are many other personalities in the field of science who were similarly propelled by curiosity to discover something extraordinary. Here's some homework for you as we take leave. Find out about 3 other scientists marked by their curious minds. In our next 2 videos, we shall quickly recap today's lesson and try answering a few questions. Till then, goodbye.